Good morning, everyone. This is Sarah, and it's again time for our live video chat. And just a reminder, the live video chat is recorded on my Facebook page at Posh Pooch Designs, and you can find that every Tuesday, unless somehow I'm kept away from doing it. We do this live video 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time. And it's Mountain Time because I am in Colorado in a city called Parker, just south of Denver. And I'm so excited about today's video. I've got a bunch of things to share with you, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that are coming up, some things that happened last week. So lots of things. And I know I popped on just a second or two early, but I wanted to make sure everything was working accurately and, the way that it should. I've been having, like I said, I've got a whole new system, a whole new setup. And so I've been having just a little bit of issues with it saving all my settings and things. And so I'm having to take pictures with my phone to make sure my settings are right so I can set them back and things like that. So I see a bunch of you already clinking in. Check out this coffee cup. It's coffee time. Clink. Well, good morning, Michelle and Aurora and Susie. Good morning, Carla and Dawn. I see Linda and Dana. Let me move my thing down here. Shakanya, is that? Oh, what a beautiful name. I just love names that are different. Oh, I love that. Shakanya. Jennifer, Marlene. Wait a minute, Marlene. You're on there twice. Teresa, Alicia, Nicole, Tina, Amberly, and Kimberly so far. I'm so glad you're all here with me. It means the world to me that you take a few minutes of your time each Tuesday and just pop into the live video. And like I said, I've got a lot of things to share with you today. We're going to talk a little bit about one of the questions I received this week about ruffling circles. I've got some new yarns to show you, some new patterns, and then we're going to talk a little bit. And I'm going to talk about this first, and then we're going to talk about the ruffling circle. That way we'll give everybody time to get in here. And what I want to talk to you about is next week. Isn't that funny? Let's see and make sure I got everybody. Amanda, Kimberly, Carol, and there's Shakana again. Yes, I just love your name. Okay, so next Thursday, we're going to be doing some things a little bit different, or not Thursday, Tuesday. My mind's on Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving here in America is on on next Thursday, or a week from Thursday, not this Thursday, but a week from Thursday. And so we're going to do things a little bit different next Tuesday. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a yarn giveaway. And I'll show you that new yarn after a bit. I also have another calendar, the crochet calendar, where you get over 100 crochet patterns plus the calendar for 2019. I have a few more of those, and so I want to give another one away next week. And then also I want to talk to you about the crochet along. And next week we'll be talking about the winter crochet along. And if you've been following in the group, the PPD Puppy Love Crochet group, we've been talking, and I was doing a poll to see what everyone would want. And it's kind of neat because some people do want to do a stocking, and some people do want to do the Christmas elf that I designed a few years ago. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do that Christmas elf, and I'll show it to you next week as a crochet along. And we're going to do that the week after Thanksgiving. But don't panic if you're traveling or you're busy or you don't have time. It will always be on the blog. It's already on the blog as a free pattern. And those videos will always be on YouTube so that you can go back and find them. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and it's the PPD Puppy Love stocking. And we're going to go ahead and do that. We're not going to do it as a crochet along. I'm just going to do a video so those of you who wanted to do the stocking can do that also. And the reason I'm not showing them to you this week is we're going to talk more in depth about it next week. All right. So keep this in mind. Next week, we're going to have another calendar giveaway, crochet calendar. We're going to have a yarn giveaway, and I'll tell you how to win those or be on the list to win those next week. I want to tell you this week, so you'll be sure and pop in next week. Then we'll talk more about the crochet alongs and the new patterns for Christmas next week. Another thing that's going to happen is usually the last Monday of the month, I do the new stitch for the month for our blanket crochet along. And I'm going to go ahead and do it next Monday. That way, if you want to work on it when you have spare time, when you're on your holiday or not, but you'll go ahead and have it, and that way it won't interfere with the crochet along. And I'll talk more about that next week as well also. But I just wanted to get you aware about what's happening next week, because I know here, a lot of you aren't in America, but most of you are. And so we want to make sure we work around those holiday celebrations. The most important thing, in my opinion, about all the holiday celebrations, from Halloween all the way through New Year's, is family and friends. And you want to make sure you get with all your family and friends and not feel like, oh man, I've got to get this stitch done or this lesson done or whatever. Okay. All right. So that's what's coming up for next week's video. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, and if you haven't clinked in yet, let me pull this down a little bit. Make sure I got everybody. Looks like everybody's on the list. Make sure you clink in today, because it's coffee time. All right, let's talk about why when you're stitching a circle, it ruffles. And I'm going to click over here to my top camera so you can see. Here I have one that's laying nice and flat, and that's just an extra one. And then I have one here that's got ruffles in it. Well, why does that happen? And I'm going to give you a couple of little hints and things that you can try if this happens. All right. So sometimes when you're going around, when you do your join, let me grab my crochet hook here. When you do your join, because this is, you can do this with double crochets or half double crochets. When you're just going around, say you're making, a hot pad, anything that takes a circle like a poof or something. All right. You've gone around, you've got the appropriate amount of stitches that the pattern calls for. Well, sometimes what happens, I'm popping on my glasses here. Sometimes what happens is you accidentally put an extra stitch in, and then you join to the top of your chain 3. You chain 3, and then you put an extra stitch in again, unless the pattern calls for an extra stitch. And by doing that, what you've done is you've added 2 extra stitches, one there and one there. And so what you end up with is, instead of having a nice flat circle, you end up with ruffles because you have extra stitches, and you've done it by accident. So make sure when you're joining that you don't add that extra stitch. You count your stitches, making sure you have what the pattern calls for. Don't add an extra stitch there, and join to your top of that chain 3 with your slip stitch, and then chain 3. If your pattern tells you to add a stitch in the same stitch as your chain 3, then you'd put it there. But if it doesn't, make sure you go to that next stitch. All right, a lot of hat patterns won't have you add that extra stitch if it's done doing your increases. All right, that's one thing that happens. Another thing that happens is, if you are a loose crocheter like I am, you may need to go down a hook size, because what happens is your stitches are too big. You've got the right amount of stitches, you've done exactly what the pattern says, but your hook size is too big because you're a loose stitcher. You can go down, if your pattern calls for a 5 millimeter, you can go down to a 4.5 or something like that, and that would help you a lot in getting your stitch counts right. And that's where it's very important. And what do I say all the time? Measure as you go. Whether you're doing inches or whatever, measure as you go. Especially if you're making a hat. Now, if you're making straight rows and you're making, say, a blanket or a scarf or something, and it's not really going to matter if it's off by a 1/4 or 1/2 inch or something, that's not really a big deal. Okay, so it's supposed to be 5 inches and it's 5.5 wide, and it's a straight row. No big deal, really. But when you're going in circles is when it can really mess us up. Hats and blankets and things that are in a circle, poofs and things, if your stitch count isn't right, it can really mess you up. All right, so we can accidentally add too many stitches, or we can use too big of a crochet hook. And remember, everybody has a different tension. I tend to crochet looser. And almost every day I get a message that says, I did your hat pattern, it's too small. I did your hat pattern, it's too big. And that's because we all have different tension. And that's why it's important to measure as you go. Don't make the whole hat and put it on your head and go, oh my word, it only comes to my ears. Or it comes all the way to my neck. Don't do that to yourself. It'll be frustrating. And that's where you can measure as you go. All right? And the last thing I want to tell you about this is, say you have done all the stitches, it measures out right, but it's still just a little bit curly. And that's where blocking comes into it. I do have a link on my blog that I added how to block. But basically, you can block acrylic yarn. And depending on what you're doing with it, if you're going to make it into a hat and your stitch count is right and you want to keep going and it measures right, a lot of times those ruffles will work themselves out. A good example of that is the ruffled hat we did 2 weeks ago. The one brim row is a little bit ruffly, but then when you do the next brim row, it pulls those ruffles out. And so don't panic if one row's a little ruffly and everything measures out right. Continue with the pattern and just keep going, all right? But if you feel like you want to block it, what I do is I use a blocking board. I don't get it soaking wet. I just mist it with water. I pin it flat, and then I let it dry. I set it on my dryer and I let it dry. Then if it's still ruffly, then I know there's another issue going on. Let me click back over. One of the things that happens a lot of times is we get really frustrated because we think that it has to be extremely perfect. And a lot of times, just follow the pattern and it will work itself out. All right. So be careful that you're using a crochet hook that goes with the pattern. And then if it is ruffling up and you know your stitch count's right, switch to a smaller hook. Okay. Then be careful not to accidentally add extra stitches. Count your stitches for your row. And the main place that we accidentally add them, and I've done it too, is when we join and when we begin the next row. And that can add 2 stitches. And think about this. If you're adding 2 or 3 stitches every row, you're going to end up with way, way, way too many stitches, okay? And then the last thing is, if you know you've done your stitch count right, if you know that it's measuring right and it is a little bit ruffly, especially if it's like a doily or something that's supposed to sit flat, go ahead and block it. All right? And those are just some notes that you can do rather than let yourself get all frustrated. Because crochet is an art. We should not be getting frustrated or upset over crochet. And if you do, because say you're just learning, something that I learned is just to set it aside for a little while and then come back to it later. Because sometimes we're working a pattern and it reads normal, and then all of a sudden, oh, I can't do it. I'll set it aside. And then after a while, I'll come back and pick it up and I'll think, what was I thinking? That's easier than, piece of pie. So give yourself some credit, all right? All righty. So are you ready to learn about some brand new yarn? Well, I'm very excited about these 3 new yarns I'm going to show you. This one is called Puffy or Pastry Puff. I always want to call it Puffy Pastry. And this is by Hirschner's. It's Christmas colors. And it is a cake. I'm going to pop my glasses on so I can see the ounces on this. I want to make sure I read this one right. All right, this has 4.9 ounces. There we go. 4.9 ounces. And it's 70% acrylic and 30% wool. And I love the combination of acrylic and wool. And you can see it's Christmas colors. And I ordered these off Amazon. And remember I told you I had that gift card just burning a hole in my pocket? And so I ordered 4 of these. And I'm going to be giving 2 away next week for free for our giveaway. And I want to make sure I give you 2 so you have enough to make like a tree skirt or something, all right? Because I think this would work out beautiful as a tree skirt, don't you? Put that under your Christmas tree. All right, and I do have a pattern. I'm not going to do a video for it, but I do have a couple of different patterns that this would work for as well. All right, so let me give you a good look at that. It's a medium weight 4, and it has 4.9 ounces wool and acrylic. I think it'd make a perfect tree skirt. Going to be giving away 2 of these next week on our video. All right, I'm going to set that one down there. And then the other 2 yarns I got this week are from Red Heart, and I have not got to try either one of these yet. And so the first one is called Dreamy. And it really is. It is so soft. This one is a pretty good size skein. Let me see. I'm looking at it upside down. There you go. Dreamy. All right. Let's see. It's got 6.3 ounces, and it is 100% acrylic, and it is very, very soft. And I'm probably going to do something after the first of the year with this, as I think it would make a nice hat and scarf set, don't you? So soft. And look at those pretty colors. Very nice. All right, so that's the other one. And then the third one I got is called Hygge. And I had never heard of this one. And let me tell you, it is like one of the softest yarns I have ever felt. It is awesome. It's called Hygge. It's spelled H-Y-G-G-E, but it's Hygge. See that pronunciation at the bottom? And this, of course, is by Red Heart. And let's see. This is a chunky number 5, or a bulky. I always say chunky, but they call it bulky number 5. And let's see. Let me sure. Oh, here it is. 8 ounces. And I'm looking for what it's made out of. They like to hide a lot of this stuff. This color is called Wisteria. It's gorgeous. Let's see. I'm trying to find. Oh, here it is. It's 70% acrylic and 30% nylon. So that's why it's so soft. It's got that nylon in it. All right. See if I can get that. There we go. Hygge. They sent me, I got 2 of these. So we'll be looking for some patterns out of those. And that'll be a lot of fun, right? Okay. Hey, Rosie, come here, girl. Come here. Come here, girl. So this week we did, here's my baby girl, Rosie. Oh, don't fall, baby girl. There we go. She's wearing our new pattern, the turkey bandana. Give Mama kisses. She's not going to give Mama kisses today. Okay. They were taking a nap. I'll let her go ahead and take her nap. But we did our brand new pattern. It's a dog bandana. It's a great thing to have. If you're going to take family pictures at Thanksgiving, your dogs deserve a prop, right? And just pop these on. Silly turkey bandanas. It's a free pattern and a free video on my YouTube. And then we also did this. And this was a special request from a friend. I did some Hanukkah patterns for her last year, and she asked for the luminary. Let me show you how this works. It's probably not going to be as bright, but you can see it's got the light in there. And this is a great basic pattern to cover a jar. And you could change the striping to anything that you'd really want to. It's just basic double crochets that are stitched with a bigger hook so that you have the stretch and the light can come through. So anyway, that was for her, and I thought I'd put that out there for everybody. It's a free pattern, and it's also on my YouTube. So I do have a friend who asked me to do one for Kwanzaa, and so I'm doing some investigating and learning about Kwanzaa. And the truth is, like every other holiday, it's all about family and friends, and so I really love that. And so I'll probably be putting that one out there pretty soon as well. And yesterday's video and brand new pattern is hilarious. And it was so funny because I actually got some negative comments about, Kimberly wants to see Max. I'll have to be honest with you. He is not feeling very good today. He just to change this up just a little bit, Rosie is doing great, but Max is having a little bit of trouble with the tooth. And we've had to have a lot of his teeth removed, so he has hardly any teeth left because he's almost 11 years old. And sometimes I think that that one tooth that he's got like two down here and two up here. And that one is bothering just a little bit, so I'm probably gonna have to take him in. But so I just didn't pull him up here because sometimes he just wants to be left alone. Sorry, Kim. He just doesn't want to be on camera today. All right, let's get back to the silliness, shall we? All right, so yesterday I did the Christmas pickle. Are these not the funniest thing you ever saw? Okay, so you want to hear the story about the Christmas pickle. Everyone kept saying that it was a German tradition. Well, it's not. I lived in Germany for quite a few years when my husband was in the Air Force, and I remember people talking about it, and the German people were like, "No, it's not." And so I what I did is I did some searching. Where did it come from? Where did And it was just a marketing ploy to be able to sell Christmas ornaments that were shaped like pickles. And so then the tradition happened that at night, after the kiddos would go to bed, mom and dad or grandma or grandpa or whoever the kiddos' house were at, they would take a Christmas ornament that looked like a pickle and they'd hide it up inside the tree. And then the next morning, the first child to find that Christmas pickle would get an extra gift, and it was considered good luck. So I thought that it would be fun just to make a really simple Christmas pickle so everyone could start a brand new tradition. I don't know about you, but these two are going to go on my Christmas tree. And it was so funny because I got a kind of a negative comment about Christmas shouldn't be funny. I'm like, yes, it should. The holidays are all about having fun with friends and family and laughing and eating good food, right? And I'm sorry if the pickle offends you, but it's just a pickle and it's just for fun. So anyway, and I put these great big googly eyes on it. I just love that. And you know me, I love to have a good time and I love to have fun. So I told you there was a lot that we were going to talk about in today's video, and we did. And I'm so glad all of you were here. And just in case I've missed some of you, I'm going to look down through the roll here. I see Mary and let's see, Dawn and Missy, Jennifer. I want to go back through and make sure I didn't miss anybody. All right, looks like there's Leslie, Nicole. So anyway, if I missed you, I'm certainly sorry. I'm so happy that all of you take your time to pop in to our live video here on Facebook. And I also thank you that if you don't have time or don't get a chance, you'll pop in and see it over on YouTube. And just a reminder, I couldn't do this without you, because you all are the ones who follow my Facebook page and my blog and my YouTube, and you make it possible for me to do what I love, and that's yarn and crochet, and to share it with other people. All right, now don't forget, next week, yarn giveaway, calendar giveaway, and information about our new crochet along that's coming. All right. Thank you again for being with me today, and y'all have a wonderful, wonderful, and happy, silly week.